I think the motives of the Russians are absolutely clear. It's to protect their interests, and that means protecting the regime of Assad. So this is action designed to do that. And this is all about what happens after the conflict ends, when it ends, if it ends. And the purpose of what the Russians are doing is to increase their leverage to make sure that they get the outcome that they want. And therefore, what's very important for us, because there is no future for Syria if Assad stays in place, is to signal our intent and to increase our leverage to make sure that the outcome of those negotiations is one which can stabilize the country and give us some prospect of the country being brought back together.
But now that Russia is bombing sites, what is the US and British leverage?
Well, our leverage really depends on what we intend to do. And look, if you go back several years, it's been clear right from the very beginning that if we want to say in the outcome of what is happening in Syria, we have to be prepared to commit. I mean, personally, the British Parliament obviously played a significant and, in my view, adverse part in this. 2 years ago, when we didn't take action on the use of chemical weapons in Syria, then for all sorts of reasons I understand, it was more difficult for us to signal that we were prepared really to have a stake in the outcome. Today, there are things that we can do that signal that intent, which are to do with, as the administration is now doing, giving greater weapons to the opposition that we support. Because I know people look at Syria and say, well, why should we support anyone there? I mean, aren't they all as bad as each other? And the answer to that is there is a majority of the country that probably does want a stable and religiously tolerant outcome to this. But they're caught between these twin evils, essentially, a regime that's barrel bombing and starving and beating its population into submission, and then ISIS and some of these other extremist groups who are trying to take as much territory as they can in order to establish some sort of caliphate there. So what is important is that we arm those groups that are actually fighting on the side that we wish to come out on top on this. We can do things like create enclaves where the Syrian opposition can congregate and where we can arm and train people. And we can make it very clear to the Russians that we're not prepared to tolerate a situation where they are bombing effectively people that we are supporting. Because a lot of the airstrikes that they've been doing so far have not been airstrikes that are aimed at ISIS. They're airstrikes that are aimed specifically at those people opposing the Assad regime. And look, we in Europe, by the way, we can see what we've got at stake in this. We've now got hundreds of thousands of refugees from Syria coming to Europe. We've got a refugee crisis we frankly don't really know how to handle. Turkey's got 2 million refugees, Syrian refugees, inside its country at the moment. The surrounding countries are being destabilized by this. So acting is difficult, but inaction is also, I think, a problem.